It is the 9 a.m. edition of Russell and Hunters in other news because, we're Americans. We can do whatever we want to. We can do it whenever we want to. We can do it however we want to. Hope you guys are spinning along. If you're catching it later at our normal time, noon, hi. It's not noon right now. It's 9 o'clock, but we're going to keep rolling along, and we can be chatting in the comments as well. So sometimes discuss amongst yourself. We might dip in and out. So how you doing? Thanks for hanging out. Good morning to you. And it was a weird day, not really a weird day. It was a telling day in the House of Representatives yesterday as the basically a bill that was put forward by Speaker Johnson to mandate that someone has to prove citizenship to register to vote here in the United States or to vote if they had already registered. This is a huge move. Voted no by every single Democrat in the House of Representatives. And it's telling on two reasons. First of all, it's telling that obviously the Democrats do not give a rat's if you're a citizen or not, if you can vote. And then they are moving monolithically as they always have. There's no divide. There's no rift in the Democrat Party with this, with regards to voting when it comes to Joe Biden being Joe Biden. So that's two very telling things. Rob, you see that? Morning, Del.
I do. But this is such a weird issue, but this is why it's so great to force the vote, because it's already a federal law that exists. A federal law that exists that says you don't have to prove that you're a citizen. We'll take you at your word, but you can only vote in federal elections. So you can vote for Senate, you can vote for president, you can vote for Congress, but you can't vote for mayor. You can't vote necessarily, at least in Arizona, because Arizona has different rules. So in Arizona, you can register and you have to show proof, and you do that at the DMV most often. But if you don't have that, you get a federal-only ballot. There's about 10,000 people in Arizona that qualify for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Most popular
that we know
by the way, is Johnson. No, I know that because I asked Stephen Richer about it. He's like, we have 10,000 people registered.
Currently registered, not that qualify for. Because you qualify for. Because if you are an immigrant here in Arizona, which we have a lot, and if you say, I think the law is if you believe you are a citizen and have the right to vote at that time, you get a federal ballot.
And each state is different because each state has different requirements and rules for registering to vote. So if you are a migrant right now and you're not registered to vote, you can't vote in the primary in Arizona because the deadline is passed. You can still vote in the general election, federal only. So it's one of these strange laws. So I asked Richard about it because this is one of those big conspiracy theories. And the tough part about it is because it's a federal law, the only reason to cancel it is the Fed vote, right? So
exactly. And that's what they tried to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's obviously a strategy, and it's a smart one because it shows you the Democrats really like, well, we don't mind if people register. We don't care if they go to jail because the penalties of voting, if you're not a citizen, are pretty severe. So the thought process is how many people would actually do it? Number one, you'd have to educate people to say, yes, if you're not an American citizen, you do this and we catch you, you're going to jail and you're going to be deported back home. Because that would be risky. It doesn't make sense why a migrant, if they knew, they would do it. Because no, I spent all of my life savings to come here to the United States. I'm going to sit out your election. But nobody wants to be honest.
No, okay. Hold on a second here. They came through on shady pretense. They came through knowing that it was dicey from the get-go, and they can be deported with a change of administration like that. And that didn't stop them. So they see their own migrant community committing crazy freaking crimes and not getting deported. Like, okay, well, a little more emboldened now. And they learn that federally, by the way, so I know each state has different rules, but federally, if you believe you are a citizen or you are able to vote at the time, your vote will count in a federal election. That's federal law. That's what Johnson was trying to squash here. I think we've passed the whole. It's a conspiracy theory that the Biden administration was quite literally flying tens of thousands of migrants to specific cities around the nation. That is not, that's proven, flight logs, whole nine from the FAA and the Department of Homeland Security. They have done that. So we're done with conspiracy theory at this point because, okay, if they can vote, it makes sense. Or I wouldn't say we're done with conspiracy theory. It's not too hard to draw a line from one to the other. It really isn't. And now, no. So, and if you don't think there was any fraud in the last election, I disagree. There was plenty of fraud. I've never heard anyone say there was no fraud in the last election. They said widespread. And they always say widespread. They always say widespread. There was so much shenanigans in the other election, the last election, it was silly. So to think that we aren't going to have equal, if not more, especially when it comes to migrants voting, people are catching on, including I guess I just hate this term, black activist. He's an activist. There you go. How about that? He's an activist that is the promoting equality for a certain community. He was on Charlemagne the God's podcast. I'm sorry, radio program yesterday. This is what he had to say. Hello.
Is when Joe Biden got elected, he said he wanted to fast track 4 million undocumented residents to full citizenship. Black people completely ignored it. I spoke on it. I said, do you know why he want to fast track 4 million? Because he know he's not going to do nothing for us. We ain't going to be motivated to vote for him November. So what he's going to do is have these migrants already set up with citizenship so they can replace the black vote that he loses. The migrants are being put in our communities on purpose, New York and Chicago on purpose, because they are what? The two blackest cities in America. They're the two largest cities in America. They're the two most politically conscious black communities in America. So if we can wash out the black with the brown in New York, if we can wash out the black with the brown in Chicago, Philly don't stand a chance. Atlanta don't stand a chance. LA, Houston, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago don't stand a chance. The migrants are here for 3 reasons. Replace us at the polls, replace us at the low-end industry jobs, right? See, when Donald Trump said during the debate that Joe Biden is taking black jobs and giving them to migrants, he was correct. Although he didn't say it because he cared about us, but he's right. When people say, what do you mean by black jobs? Get out your bougie feelings and deal with the reality. 1/3 of black men have a felony. So there's a lot of jobs they will never qualify for. They are mostly what? Essential workers, warehouse, trucking, security. And a lot of those jobs are going to who? The migrants.
This guy, he ain't lying. He ain't lying. And that's what I think that's why I've said, either if it's conspiracy theory, it is going to be a very accepted conspiracy theory in now communities that the Democrats absolutely 100% do not want it to be even a theory in. And again, it's not hard to draw the line. And this guy's seeing a lot of truth in it.
Okay, so great. What do we do about it? Because again, all we're doing is setting up the same conversation we had in 2020. Because here's what Democrats do that Republicans do not. They go register people to vote. They show up. They have little things. They register people to vote. So the Democrats are way more active about this. Because the second thing is, in order to change it, you got to win. You can't have bad candidates run because you need the Senate to vote for this. You need the president to okay it. Biden's obviously not going to do that. So do you share this information and you share it in a way that is effective? Because again, what is still missing is the number of people who are here illegally that are voting because no one's investigating it. So do you find friendly states to investigate this? Because right now, we don't have anything other than a gut feeling that people are doing it. And even when I asked Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer about this, he says, number one, there's nothing we can do about it. We're the state of Arizona. So he says that there's the names that were released. The first name of people in this 10,000 in Arizona, the last name is Johnson. Most likely not from Guatemala. So again, what's the truth and what's not the truth? Is it true that an illegal immigrant could vote in a federal election? Yes, it is true. Is there a penalty for doing so? Yes, there is if someone were to investigate that. Because
no, it's late. It's law. If they believe, if they have the belief, this I'll pull up the title, whatever the hell. I'll figure it out. If they believe they have the right to vote, that vote will count. That is law. There's no penalty if we're doing that. If your argument is, I believe that I could do that. I was told that I could do that, and understand that it was something like 28% of migrants polled said yes, they will be voting, like they were here to vote. So, of course, you take, 500 people or whatever it is of 10 million. It doesn't really give you the right picture, but that at least shows you a bit of an eye opening of, okay, there is some sort of something that is already set up to happen, whether it was nefarious, whether it was intentional, or these guys truly came over and go, I just want to come vote. Who knows? It is what it is, though.
Sure.
It is there.
I just have a hard time believing that someone spent 10 grand from Somalia to come here and vote in the U.S. election. I find that.
I obviously was being facetious that come to directly to vote, but I mean to turn a blind eye to it and go, well, this isn't going to happen. This is going to happen in widespread, and it's like I said, it's not. I don't even know if it's possible to not draw the line from one to the other. Nobody's been held accountable to why literally they have. We have flight logs, we have the numbers, we have the cities, the totals, everything that they were flown to. This isn't tough to figure out.
Well, no, but we never hold anybody accountable.
I agree.
So I always love that we always arrive at the end of the tunnel and we're like, wow, that sucks. And this is really when you have disengagement, when people don't care, when people aren't engaged. Because if you have a two-party system, and Mike and I talk about this all the time, when the stakes are high, someone's going to cheat because the stakes are too high. There's trillions of dollars to spend of your money. So you have to thwart the cheating. You have to beat the cheating. You have to figure out how to play within the system. So if I understand that they're going to register migrants, then why am I not doing that? Because why am I not going to talk about economic policies for migrants and saying, hey, you're here to work. I'll allow you to keep more of your money while I deport you. This is what I don't understand is if this is a game that is being played to win an election, why is the same game not being played? Why are we not playing that same thing?
Let me answer that from a parent standpoint. From a parent standpoint, if my kids, as from a divorced parent standpoint, how about that? Okay. So if mom decides to buy them each a brand new Toyota Tacoma, give them their dream car, man, there it is. Got it finally.
They both have the same
And
dream
they only had to mow the lawn for a year or something like that, and boom, they got it, right? And then dad tells them, no, guys. I want you to live at dad's house when you stay with dad because dad's got a future for you. Dad's got this for you. Hell no. That mom just gave me my damn Tacoma. Joe Biden, by the way, got me here. Joe Biden opened this border for me to be able to spend my 10 grand to get here. So I could go to every single migrant and say, vote for the other party, not the guy that you've been told got you here. It's a futile effort on that. Here's what I would say though.
Oh.
Here's where I'm going with you on it. You're talking seriously. You're gonna talk to Joe Immigrant that came through here, and he's on camera thanking Joe Biden. And you're gonna say, hold on, let's talk about economic security. Come on over here. Come on, let's talk about our national debt. They don't care.
They don't care about who the president is. They just wanted to come here. You're assuming that they care about American civics.
They want no, not even civics. It's not even civics. What it's literally the man they were told. Joe Biden has opened the border. Get your money, give it to these bad guys, and they're gonna get you up to the front. Or as a matter of fact, just here's your plane ticket from the Biden administration. Come on up here. And you think that if they were to be registered by a Republican, that they would go vote Republican. I just think I think that's a futile effort. But where I do agree with you is that voting matters for us because we see all of this, whether it is intentional or not. And it is if it is meant to disenfranchise us or if it's not meant to disenfranchise us, it's disenfranchising voters. No matter what the Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, it's getting people to sit on their hands and not vote. So the most important thing, I think, at this moment is make sure that damn near everyone in your circle is going to vote and not sit on the hand because, oh, well, what does my vote matter? They cheated last time. Remember, okay, so we have that now. We have, they cheated, so I don't want to vote. They're going to cheat again. Oh, they got all these migrants coming in. They're going to vote. So, well, why would I vote? Our biggest thing, I believe, would be to make sure that every damn one of us vote. And our friends and our neighbors and their dog and their dead uncle, whatever it is.
Well, and that's it. At some point, you have to beat the system instead of just complaining about it, because that's all I see is we're already setting up the losing scenario. And if Trump does lose, we're going to go right to this issue and we're just going to complain over and over again instead of trying to figure out how to win more votes. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if voting still matters, you got to win more votes in key states. That's what matters. And you can say all the things you want, all the conspiracies, because I honestly don't even know. I've looked into some of the stuff about migrants and this, that, and the other thing. Here's what I do know. There is not a lot of actual proof that this is happening. There's not a lot of proof. There's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of things that are written online, but what I don't see is a lot of proof.
What would you need? What would you think would be available at this point in time for proof?
Well, that's what I'm saying there isn't. So all this is just a bunch of ideas because no one's actually investigated it. So we're making a lot of assumptions that migrants are coming here and they came here 6 months ago and they're going to vote in this election. I don't know how big that is. I don't know how widespread that is. There's 11 million people that have come here.
Yeah.
So the question is, how many are going to vote? And no one's going to know the answer to that question because no one's going to look into it. So in absence of proof, it's easy to fill in the bucket with whatever it is that we want. So again, I'm arguing from a position of ignorance in that all I know is what the law says. All I know is what people who run elections tell me.
Right.
And I don't know anything beyond that.
Well, it's the federal election is the issue. It has nothing to do with the state. So, I mean, that's who we'd have to talk to, one, and we'd have to find out who's registered federally. And if people want to look into it, that's fine. But again, if you just look at what we're looking at, it's not hard. I would hope that you admit that at least it's not hard to draw the lines. It's just not hard. And I understand those lines aren't smack you in the face. This is exactly what's happening. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. It's pretty easy to see, in my opinion. And I don't feel like a conspiracy theorist. Like I've got this yarn going from one picture to the next in my studio here to say that, okay, there is a plan at least. Maybe it's not this cycle, next cycle, whatever it can be. I mean, I understand this. These people are quite literally having their lives funded. They're getting more than veterans get. They are getting a fantastic life. And it's why would you try to change something? If you have the opportunity to vote and you're told you can vote, why in the world would you change what's going on? You have free housing, free everything.
I get, this is what I'm getting at. This all sounds good in a vacuum. It sounds real. But here's the other part about this, Mike. Again, we always absolve ourselves of our own responsibility. So 2016, Donald Trump wins. 2017, Republicans have control of the presidency, the House, and the Senate.
Of course.
Why didn't they pass the law then? This is always the thing. It's always like the Roe versus Wade debate. Roe versus Wade, the Democrats got all pissed off because, Roe versus Wade went away. Yet they knew from 1973 on that there was one court decision away from overturning it, and they didn't do anything about it. So in a way, this is always becomes the lack of priority. So you go win the election, you complain about stuff like, because this has been a complaint for a very long time, that illegal immigrants get to vote. I've been in talk radio for 25 years. This complaint has been big for a very long time.
Sure.
Yet nothing is ever done about it.
Okay, hold on. 2017 though. But in 2017 though, think about that. Okay, let's go back to 2017. And Rob, you and I know very well how politics work. 2017, what was going on in 2017? What was going on? Donald Trump stole the election. We've had stolen from us. It was stolen. It was stolen. They cheated. They stole in Russia. Now we're just a year and a half away from another campaign for midterms. Would the Republicans, but seriously, be a Republican consultant right now? Do you want to put forth we need to secure voting for, now the Republicans cheated to get in. And now look what they put forward. It would be red meat it would be so easy politically. It would be completely red meat.
They didn't even think about it.
What do you know? What are you talking about?
They didn't even consider that as a bill in 2017. Isn't that what they were saying? Oh, because they went all in the tax cuts and they went into getting Trump going. Wonderful. So it was just not a top priority. So
okay, top priority, fine. I get it. And the reason why it wasn't top priority is exactly what I'm telling you. It wasn't a top priority because they would have got their asses kicked in the midterms because they're all about it. They now want one party control forever. They're rigging the system. I'm telling you, it's a political move. They had to have thought of that.
Way. Not a chance. I
disagree with that. I completely disagree.
But again, we're just guessing. We're just guessing on our own theories. And that's what I'm getting at with this story is all we're doing is filling in our own information to believe it's a conspiracy without actually knowing it's a conspiracy. Because yes, on paper, it looks bad. On paper, it looks obvious as to what's happening. But unless you prove it, it's not actually happening. That's what I'm saying.
All the guns are missing from my safe and they're in my kid's room. I don't need to wait to see if something happens to go, this dude's up to something freaking nefarious. Like, okay, if you see what you see.
But isn't that obvious? Isn't that what we've been discussing? That it's been nefarious at least since 2020. Like, our side of the aisle believes that nefariousness has already happened. Okay, how do you beat the nefariousness then? Because I saw a poll today, and this is the craziest part. It's a tie. So the fact that Joe Biden and Donald Trump, a dead guy, Joe Biden is still in the margin of error with Trump is concerning enough.
How do you?
Well, all I'm saying is,
question. I apologize.
No, again, it's why are we not winning by 10 points when a dead guy's running? Like, that should be causing some self-reflection. Is
it an aggregate or is it one poll?
It was just one.
Because that's not what. Yeah, because I've been seeing the opposite, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because as we said, Hillary was up by 16 points before the freaking election. We get a little too excited about the polling. I just, again, you look back. So okay, what can we do? People like us, people that have a community like we have joining us. And Greg, you're right. Timing or schedule or whatever. I know it's just we're trying at 9 a.m. It's just things went down. We just do it at 9. But we'll be back to noon.
I had a scheduling conflict.
Back to noon on it. So
this is actually the truth. So rather than pre-record it and not have you guys be able to chat with us live, we figured 9 a.m. was our availability and you guys can chat with us live. So we're trying it out. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool.
Yeah. So back to that. And I forgot what I was going to say. So right. Literally did. I just freaking forgot what the hell I was going to say. The fact of the matter is okay, people like us, there we go, people that have a community like this, I need to start talking, be a little more open with exactly what did happen in the last election. So, the no widespread fraud, which is a bunch of nonsense, because there were moves that were made by 4 key states that those moves were deemed in large part unconstitutional after the election. You can put toothpaste back in the tube. So it's that stuff to expose and say, look, if they've done this, which was all deemed unconstitutional, but too late. Yeah, you're right. Better ask. What is it? Easier to ask forgiveness than for permission, right? So they rigged it. So okay, great. So let's figure out how we can expose that and show other things that might be going the same way. That's the only thing I can think of. That's literally the only thing I can think of.
Because that's it. I mean, let's say it happens. And let's say we know it's going to happen and we let it happen and then we complain about it. And then what? Because that's all I'm getting at here is this has been a long theory. And I understand that C put the point in that all of a sudden there's millions of newcomers in here. So, okay. Isn't the whole Trump strategy to have volunteers at the polls? Again, not that you can check people's immigration status and all that stuff. So, this to me is a reminder of how big elections have consequences, and getting people to vote, like Mike said, is incredibly important, because I don't think any of us really know the true nature of the manipulations that are happening. I mean, think about Biden. It's been pretty obvious to most of us that Biden has not been okay since he ran for president in 2020. He hid, his voice was scratchy, he did the shuffle walk, he had all the signs, right, that he was going downhill. But there are people that believe that he was fine because the power structure told them they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
The inner circle said Biden was fine. In fact, I just saw a clip of one of our radio show host friends here in the Valley who hosts afternoons on our old station, Mike, a second station ago, who's like, I didn't know Biden was having issues until a year ago. I'm like, what are you looking at? So my point of bringing all of this up is this should be a slam dunk easy election. It should be. The fact that it's not should cause some self-reflection. But to get bound to this level of, you can say all the things that you want. If you lose, you still lose.
Yeah, sure.
Because if you know that this game is being played, especially based on what Mike said, and if you're not organized and structured in the right way. So, for example, to go back to this black activist that you played, Mike, if there are not conversations being had inside black communities every single day to bring that up, then you're going to lose. If this is true, right? If this theory is true that illegals are going to swing the election towards towards Joe Biden.
He could have stopped it saying Joe Biden knew he wasn't going to do squat for us. He could have stopped right there. And if that's the conversation that's being had in black communities, then okay, there we get it. Yeah.
Well, and that's my point. So my point is all of us are in agreement about this. And people on the right have been talking about these votes since 2020. So are we just talking about it, or are we actually trying to take action to get new people to vote, right? Based on that, based on the idea that, and Trump gets it to a point, right? 60 years ago, the Civil Rights Act was passed, of which Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president at the time, as I always like to say, called them the N-word. I'll have blanks voting for Democrats for 60 years. Well, the 60 years is up.
Yeah.
And look at the results. Because again, if you take 15% of what has been a solid voting block for Democrats and shift it, you should win. And you could even compete in states you don't normally compete in, because everything has to be about better strategy, better messaging. It has to be this big encompassing thing to beat whatever they're going to throw at you. And then if you win, you make it a priority. But here's the smart strategy: bringing it up to create awareness of it, right? That is really what the Republicans are doing right now. And it's smart to put it on a bill to force the president to veto it, because it forces America to look at it and go, why would he veto that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think, because I saw Democrats come out either yesterday or today, and they're doing their usual polling tax, and they make it a racial issue, and they do the
come on, please,
forever, right? So let them talk, right? And this is how you kind of expose that, because you have to have that swell in numbers, but it has to be kind of guided in a way, because, again, I'm just tired of the complaining. If we want to win, we got to win. You got to win. You got to figure out ways to win, and you got to get the smartest people in place to be able to do that, despite despite what we think is happening.
Then what's the harm in having this conversation? And in July, what's the harm in having this conversation? Is that there's no complaining going wrong. This is we're seeing something happening here. And then they whether it's an internal call to action, external call to action, whatever it is. But like you said, it was genius that the Republicans are starting to bring this in, because it's a good move. It forces their hand, and they don't really care. Obviously, they're moving monolithically, and which by the way should be very surprising to everybody, because it seemed like there was this riff in the Democrat Party. There's not a riff in the Democrat Party. There isn't. They're all just, okay, you can be mad at Joe Biden. You need to say Joe Biden stays. You can be. This is all tactical, is what this is. There's a lot of strategery going on here, but I see no problem in screaming from the rooftops. This is about to happen, y'all, in July, and making that a call to action instead of in December going, well, crap, they let migrants vote. Well, how about that? God, they slipped that one past the goalie. Why don't we amp our goalie up and try to not let this happen? Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just like a crybaby conspiracy theory, like, oh crap, we lost again. It is guys should pay attention. Exactly what this guy was doing here on Charlamagne the God Show.
Well, but think about it from a different standpoint. What he is alleging is that it's New York and Chicago. They're going to vote for Biden anyways. So, those are lost causes. What matters is states like Arizona, like Georgia, like Minnesota.
No, that's what he was saying. That's actually what he said in his thing. He said, this town doesn't have a chance. This town doesn't have a chance. This town doesn't have. He was going through Houston, LA. He was actually saying that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but he did point that out, that we're losing them if that's the case.
Well, yeah, and I didn't understand the context of what he was talking about, quite honestly, how he tied that together in that statement. But again, this has been the law for a very long time, that has allowed people who can just claim, I think it was a Clinton initiative. So it's been the law for a very long time. And what the Republicans are trying to do is change that law, again, strategically right before the election, to have us have this conversation. So there's definitely that smart part of the strategy. But again, if it's going to happen, what do you do? So if you're Republicans, do you promise an audit? Do you say, we're going to audit? So for example, in Maricopa County, those 10,000 voters that are federal elections only, can we audit them to make sure that they actually are citizens? Because if you are a citizen, you'll have proof at some point. You'll have a birth certificate, you'll have a driver's license, which you need a birth certificate for, whatever it is. So it should be pretty simple. Should be relatively simple.
Hey, Gretchen Whitmer, it should be, but Gretchen Whitmer just signed a law. You cannot audit this. Only the county attorney or something like that, you know, or her handpicked people get to actually do this type of audit or recount if somebody yells shenanigans. And that was a law passed yesterday, signed yesterday. And so, you know, there's some states you can do it. Maybe some states you won't be able to do it. And obviously, we're looking at swing states and key states that are lining up to make sure that you can't do that. And again, that's what needs to be exposed and talked about. So we're not disenfranchised and sit on our damn hands and talk about every damn vote's going to count.
So
everywhere.
Let's say then we raise holy hell, and let's say Democrats still win, and let's say there's some allegations.
Keep raising holy hell.
Well, but that's what I'm getting at is the only message that's ever really wins in Washington is losing elections. And even then, it's not always true. So I look at this, again, as a collective, this is a long time coming because we've allowed this to happen in our own country because we're in charge. And if we decide that, like, whoever are hanging out, Grizz, Rhonda, Greg, is we're all hanging out here and we're doing our thing, where does it go beyond this? Because it just doesn't seem to me, no matter the conversation, Americans don't really care because we're going to pick one of two candidates, one that we like, you know, maybe a little bit more than the other. And that's that. Because the real problem is most American voters don't care about this story. Most American voters don't know about this story. Don't know
most
about
American voters don't know. They will once if it were the truth. They're all automatically 12 million votes. You know, obviously I'm being facetious about the length of obviously it won't be that. But if 12 million votes go to Biden come from people that aren't citizens, everyone will know and they will care. And that might be what we need. That might be the final wake-up call, like an alcoholic hitting rock bottom, just saying, okay, that's enough. As a voter, I'm sick of this crap. I'm not going to, again, and Rob will attest to this, I've said this several times, the worst thing that happened to our voting as Americans are the states that allow all Democrat, all Republican at the top of the ticket. You don't even have to look at anything, do any research, just say all Republican, all Democrat. The dumbest thing I think has ever happened to our election system, and that's the way we're voting. That's the way we do as a nation. This is something maybe, possibly, if they do slip this past, and this does happen, because by the way, no one knew about this federal law until it was exposed. Nobody knew about asylum law and asylum seeking law until this happened. And then now we're like, okay, oh crap, there's a lot of light getting shine on this kind of thing. And then we start to learn about how much money goes into it and the like. That is kind of us hopefully seeing a rock bottom and saying we have to do something about this, because you're right. Americans don't care about it until they're shown. And then, oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. How many non-citizens voted for my people?
Well, and that's where I get back to this personal responsibility. So here's another potential option, especially since we love undercover videos. Get undercover. Go try to register some migrants to vote. And
like Kamala undercover?
Yeah, do it like Kamala in these streets. Yeah. Because that's really, because I did see a video of someone trying to get, a migrant to register to vote, without explaining, by the way, if you do this and you're caught, you're going to go to jail. But don't worry, wink, wink. We won't investigate whether or not you do that. But again, you got to have a lot of irrefutable proof. Then you bring that and you put that on the social channels and you hope that people see it. And then you go, whoa, wait a second here. Is this really happening? Because, even to Dell's point earlier, he wrote the margin was 10,000 in Arizona, a little over 10,000 votes in favor of Biden for Trump. So in theory, let's say all those 10,000 people that are registered in federal elections only voted for Joe Biden, which is probably not true. But let's say in theory it is. There's no process to go in and check because it's the honor system. Because that's how our game works, right? But you got to get caught in the act. And if this is really going to happen, and let's say they pull it off, then what?
That's what I said. Then what? That would be. I'm telling you, that would be America's rock bottom as voters, and just say, okay, we just can't have this crap anymore. And I would say, by the way, and if it worked and it worked for the Democrat Party, it would be an awakening for half of the nation, is what it would be. it would be a way. The other team would be like, so what? Hey, whatever. They'd be like, they'd be Democrats 2028. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's the way. That would be their whole campaign.
So here's Rhonda brought this up, right? This is the problem with the two-party system, and she's exactly right, because it's the costs of winning are so high, right? There's so many incentives to cheat. There's so many incentives to drive up your fear, because again, what is the right tapping into right now? The fear that your side will lose the election because the Democrats are going to cheat.
Yeah.
What are the Democrats doing? The fear of your side winning the election. We need to cheat, basically.
Yeah, right. Correct. Yeah.
Because Biden's a dead guy and we can't run a dead guy. So this is that kind of false choice that we all are faced with making, that one side has to be right and the other side has to be wrong, when in reality, both sides are wrong on so many issues. And both sides are trying to manipulate us for votes. And again, if this was a problem, because it's been a law, I've noticed it's been a law for a very long time. It's why is nothing ever done about it until it's too late, until you don't control the mechanisms of power to be able to do it. Like, that's really the issue to me, is it always comes down to this binary choice. And because we're attached to our side and our side has to be right, that's where this goes. It goes into the all or nothing. We have to win. And we have to point this out because America's this, America's that, America's this. But we don't look at it seemingly collectively, because, and this is kind of the conversation we had yesterday, Mike. I try to think bigger picture. I try to zoom out. And I try to look at my own responsibility and how I voted and what I know as a voter. And because of my job, Mike and I's job for a long time, I know a lot. I know a lot about how the system works. I know a lot about the strategies that you're trying to pull. And it always works because it's so easy to manipulate people. It's so easy, just as the Democrats have done in a way to the black community for 60 years. They show up, they say all the right things, they just don't have any results. We're not programmed for results. We're programmed for emotions. And that's really the true challenge here, because look at what we just did. We got an emotional conversation about this issue, which is exactly what they want us to do. But emotions don't win elections. Strategy does. Outreach does. Getting people to the polls wins elections. Emotions can help do that.
Emotions part of the pie.
But they have to be the right emotions. They have to be the fearful emotions are what's dividing this country. Because you're trying to tell me is that it's almost impossible for me to win because of all these migrants. So why be a part of that system, right? That's what the fear is. The fear is no matter what your side does, we're going to lose because they're going to make these illegal citizens vote, these illegal migrants vote. So, okay, great. Now my fear's sticking up because I feel like my voice as an American is not going to be heard. So, of course, that's outrageous. But what goes beyond the outrage? What goes beyond this? Because what I'm not still getting is a plan, answers. And I go that this bill is a plan and an answer, but it's obviously designed to do exactly that, to rile up our emotions based on the timing of it.
Sure. It makes sense. Well, so to say you're not seeing a plan, or obviously it's not like as much as it seems like it. I'm pretty damn sure, and I think David and Andy are congressional pals, would agree with us, and would say that hey, or at least agree with this statement, that yes, there is a lot of strategizing. Yes, there is a plan. Whether it's the right plan, wrong plan, whether it works or don't work, there is some strategizing and some planning going on. It doesn't look like it from our seat. It doesn't look like it because it seems like it was that whole decades of lose with dignity crap. It was a bunch of nonsense. You want to play ball. And I think they're starting to play ball. And in going back to what I said about finding rock bottom as a voter, as a U.S. voter, I got to tell you this. I would say a Biden win, just like you were talking about that poll, Rob, a Biden win would probably damn near be a rock bottom for voters. Voters would say, how in the hell did that just happen? Really, how in the hell did that just happen? It has nothing to do with indictments. We literally just put a corpse into the White House. Why? This makes zero sense. And no, by the way, it isn't because they want Kamala. I think somebody alluded to that in the comments. It's not because they do not want Kamala as the president of the United States. As much as you think that the Democrats would want to be like, we have the first female, not even the first female woman of whatever Pan-Pacific Asian Islander nonsense that they've made her. They don't want that. Why? Because Hillary ain't dead yet. And there's no way in the world that machine will allow another female president, just at least in Hillary's lifetime. It ain't going to happen. So anyway, that's my opinion. Call it a conspiracy theory all you want, but I think we will see rock bottom as a voter base, as a Republican voter base, especially if freaking Joe Corpse Biden is put back in the lands.
And I hope so, because I think this is really one of those crazy things, because this is the stat that I keep going back to. 7 people go to the doctor. Those 7 people are told by their doctor, if they don't change their behavior, you're going to die. Only one of them will change their behavior. That's America. 1 out of 7 of us will change, because we know that the country is facing peril, whether it's debt, whether it's this vote, whether it's Biden for 4 more years or 2 more years or whatever it's going to be. And we still hesitate to change. We still hesitate to care enough to say, wait a second, Democrats. Why should it be that all you have to do is say, yeah, I'm an American citizen to vote, without having to say, look, here's my birth certificate. We all have one. We all get access to one. It's free.
Go to your for everything else. You need ID for everything else in our life.
Exactly right. So it's because it comes down to what Rhonda said. It's a 2-party system. And if I'm a Democrat and I'm emotionally attached to being a Democrat, and now it's part of my identity, like my religion, I don't care if they cheat. I don't care if migrants vote, if my side wins. So the real challenge to me, the real rock bottom, Mike, is the fact that so many millions of Americans' main identity is tied to their political party, is tied to being a MAGA Republican or tied to being a Democrat or whatever the case may be. Because when you are that, when your identity is wrapped into your political party, who just tries to manipulate you to vote, then it's so much more challenging to undo that. It's so much more challenging for you to open your mind and perspective. And I think if I think about this issue that we're discussing here, that's what I get at, is the identity piece of all of this is the challenging part, because that's what allows the cheating, the stealing, the manipulating, the voting for a dead guy.
So think about this. Why? Why is our identity so caught up in who we voted for? You got to think about that during the 80s. Did you know who your neighbors voted for? Hell no. Didn't know that. Probably in the 90s too. You didn't know. You didn't care. You didn't care their political affiliation. You just didn't. You had barbecues, and if you needed a cup of sugar, you went next door and you got a cup of sugar. It wasn't Democrat sugar. It wasn't MAGA sugar. It was just freaking sugar. It's your neighbors. You just go grab it. You thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate the help. We have, as a media apparatus, have been spoon-fed for a while. The whole political affiliation thing. This is who you want. This is your identity. It went to fire hose, being fed with a fire hose with, if you voted Republican, you are a threat to our democracy. You are a threat. You are a MAGA Republican. And that made a lot of people dig in. You're like, damn right I am. Oh, those Republicans, they want to take away your right to an abortion. Oh man, they're going to tell you what to do with your body. Damn, no way in the world they're not. I'm definitely not a Republican. That started to ramp up, and then boom, it's just this is who I am, and now wearing an American flag makes you a MAGA dude, right? Or requiring or wanting someone to require a vote, according to Representative Lee yesterday on the House floor. She said that is a xenophobic attack if you want people to have an ID or citizenship to vote. I'm like, it's you digging, like, darn right, I'm fine. Then I'm xenophobic. Then whatever it is. But we've been made into that. I heard this the other day. This is the monster you created. This is the monster the media has created. And our media, social media, whatever it is, and it's living in the bubble and the algorithm. This is what it's done. So I mean, I think that in this a very solid conversation amongst two best of friends and all of y'all, it comes down to more than just one thing to do. Sure, get people to register to vote. More importantly, make sure that you and your neighbors are voting. Make sure that no one sits on their hands. Make sure you're preaching that from the rooftops. Stay away from social as best as you can for a bit and see what that does to your line of thinking. Y'all think I vote, you probably, I would assume that y'all think I vote straight line Republican. I don't. As a matter of fact, I vote Corporation Commission Democrat every single time.
And why would that be, Mike?
I'm so sick of these Republicans giving APS and SRP their handouts. I can't do it anymore. I'm like, we're not going to be able to afford power anymore if these bozos keep it up. So anyway, because I can pull away, Rob can pull away, and that's a benefit of what we've done for so long, is that we can pull away and look at things from a 30,000 foot view and say, you know something? Yes, that is our Republican option. But you know what? That Democrat is more of a let's keep things the way they are kind of person, and not just, scream and holler and make us look like a bunch of idiots. I'll probably cast my vote for that person. But it is imperative that we take steps, plural, to make sure that either we safeguard or we truly do change things the next time around and not let them slip one past the goalie again.
Well, and get self-reflective, because again, this should be a walk in the park, this election. It's a layup line before an NBA game. You drive up the hoop, there's no defense, you dunk it home. This shouldn't be hard. If the election is lost, it's not solely because migrants voted. There is some culpability on our side for an inability to get other people to vote for us. I think that's really the main point I'm trying to get at, is what I don't want is it an excuse to become a reason not to self-reflect. Because I can self-reflect about 2020 all I want. 10,000 votes. It shouldn't be hard for Trump to get 10,000 votes. In fact, I can cite 5, but I could cite for you 5 people. What are we laughing at here?
No, get on the phone. Find me the 10,000 votes, okay? Yeah, of course you can find 10,000 votes. You just make a phone call.
Exactly.
Come on, not too soon. It was.
But
fine.
here's what Trump turned off women in many ways. Women that I know that just couldn't bring it to themselves to vote for Trump, right? There's a reason in there to learn that lesson, to get self-reflective and go, okay, all I need is 10,500 of those women. If I can get 20,000, I definitely win. Because I think that is a big part of what we're missing here. Just because Biden's old and dead doesn't mean people like Trump. Trump's disapproval rating is higher than 50%. It still is. So in not being self-reflective and using this as cover, it doesn't help us improve as a country, as a party, as a people. And that is what I definitely do not see on the other side, any self-reflection. But I don't see much of it on our side either. Because here's the deal. Whoever wins the election, whether it's rigged, stolen, cheated, whether it's legit 100%, I got to live in that world. I get to do this one time. I get to fill in a circle. That's my role and my responsibility. I've got yard signs in my front yard. I will talk to anybody they want about voting. I got my
yard signs in your yard.
Got yard signs out there. Trying to contribute,
Oh, jeez.
But I still have to live in the world. Like, I live in this inflationary world right now. I'm not looking for a savior. I'm not looking for a rescue. Would I like prices to go down? Yes. Would I like interest rates to go down? Yes. Which is also very interesting, because word came out today, inflation has cooled, and now the Fed might lower interest rates just in time for the election.
Oh, wow. And they tapped into the strategic reserve again. What was left, a few drops, and they've dropped gas prices a whole 15 cents.
Well, yeah. So you can see that we're all being manipulated. And I wish that was the awareness that we had, that even this whole putting this story now in July with the illegal migrants and all that, it is being done for a strategic reason, and it creating what we could call cover for a lack of our ability to win more voters. Because again, if you can't turn those 15,000, this is the same problem Kerry Lake had. It just got bigger, because again, Trump's better than Kerry Lake. Let's just Trump's better at being Trump than Kerry Lake is at being Trump.
Correct.
So it's this idea that you can bully your way to winning. That's what Kerry Lake tried to do. 17,000 votes. And again, let's look at this just for an example, right? Kerry Lake lost by 17,000 votes. No one from this federal list could vote in that election. Trump lost by 10,000 votes with the federal list. So Kerry Lake, in theory, is even worse. But if you go to voters and you tell them you don't want their votes, they're not going to vote for you. It's bizarre, because this country really faces tremendous challenges. Trump is policy-wise is better to handle those policies. At least I think. I don't know about the debt. I don't know about some of these things because Trump certainly added to the debt like every president.
You can't use Trump in debt. Trump in debt is because literally Trump will not fix debt. Trump will not. No, I'm being serious. And no, but understand this. The guy built an entire empire on leverage. So debt is a wonderful thing to him. He doesn't think that we hear the word debt and we think bad. Trump hears the word debt and thinks good. So, and I'm being serious about that. I'm not trying to throw it out there. And Greg's chomping at the bit for some VP nods here. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders would be one of the worst since Sarah Palin. That was just, they would absolutely eviscerate Sarah Huckabee Sanders. They would absolutely destroy her. And if you want those moderate, those independent women that are still ticked off about the Roe decision, although they're uninformed about it, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the worst person to put on the ticket with you. That's my Vivek, of course, and then Condoleezza Rice are my 2 and 3.
I think it's going to be Bergram, the North Dakota governor, because he's the least known. Trump likes the way he looks. He looks the part. He looks great.
Great. He looks CEO-ish. He looks like a good CEO. Fantastic CEO.
Dude, he could probably go raise money because a part of the vice president's role is to go out and raise money for the campaign, right? Yeah. That's a big part of it. I think Rubio would be a good choice, although I did see some kind of weird rule, which I'd never heard of, that the president and vice president can't be from the same state. Yeah. So that's probably dooming Rubio.
Well, Trump can pull a Hillary and a Booker and just say, no, I live in New York. I live in Manhattan. That's my home. Primary residence out there. Love some New York.
Yes, I love New York too. But I think for me, again, in zooming out and trying to get caught up in my emotions and not trying to get caught up in wins and losses, because again, I got to live no matter what. So for me, it's always about, I try to think about Mike's kids. Like Uncle Rob wants Mike's kids to have a great country, to have the opportunities that Mike and I have had, that maybe you guys have had as well, without having $60 trillion in debt and no chance because our country has just squashed itself. So I try to go above the parties and above the political talking points of the day. Because if you can't win this election, you really, no matter what happens, this should be a Reagan type election. It should be blown out of the water.
Yeah.
And I don't think there should be enough migrants that would vote that would matter, at least in my scenario.
No, I don't think it turns it. It's a piece of the puzzle.
Which is why it's great, right? If you win and you win all three branches, you can do it. Plus, to go back to another thing that Republicans should have done what Democrats have done, snuck this into a spending bill.
That would have been fantastic. God dang, that would have been a fantastic idea. Great job, Robbie.
Play the game, man. Play the game.
I like Dell coming in with Byron Downset. Going with a black VP candidate would be a great idea. Tim Scott would be a fantastic idea as well. Because Trump and Tim Scott, the cool thing is they were the opportunity zones, which didn't get enough press. Opportunity zones the success of opportunity zones did not get enough press. The Trump tax cuts for the billionaires and the rich. The billionaires and the rich were given dollar for dollar tax breaks for investing in inner city communities, and it worked. It was a fantastic idea. And if they run on that, that would be Reaganist to me. So I think those are good ideas, guys.
Well, and the convention's coming up in what, a week? Next week? Is it next week? So we're gonna get the VP pick, but Trump's gonna have the opportunity to create this media, which he's really good at. So the election starts after the convention. Like the polls start to matter a little bit more than they do right now. But you have to remember there's a big gap because the Democrats' convention is not for a month. Usually they're back to back because I've been to many of them and you go from one, you go right to the next. But this year there's a big gap between them. I think it's because of the Olympics, or I don't know, Trump wanted to get on TV in July, whatever it is.
Not going to compete with the Olympics. Yeah. I'm not stupid. I know the idiots, the bozos at NBC. Watch The Apprentice. Yeah.
It's also where the platform will get unveiled, where Trump's plan for America will you hear more about it. So the strategy will be outlaid there. And, that'll be interesting in and of itself, because that's, I think, how you win. You win with your plan for America, especially on prices.
But do we try? I mean, honestly, look at it, guys. Let's talk like grown-ups like we do here. We've had a very grown-up conversation here today. And we talk like grown-ups. Look at Donald Trump's legal team. Do we trust him to pick a VP? Let's be really straight with this and like what he wants. He goes on looks alone. and very questionable skill. Look, we can throw Vivek out there. I think it'd still be a good choice, but Rob has a better job for him as press secretary. I think it's a great idea, or whatever, the czar of dismantling all of the government bureaucracies. That would be fantastic. But I don't trust. I have no trust in it. Tim Scott would be a great choice. I think. I think all of these would be fantastic, except for Sarah Sanders. I don't think it's a good idea. But I think Donald Trump is not left to his own devices, is the right man to make this choice. If you just look at his legal team, look at it over the years, y'all. Look at it.
Except for
bunch
Rudy.
of lunatics.
Oh, what happened to Rudy? Rudy, man.
But Rudy was already an alcoholic loony before he became Trump's attorney.
That's a damn shame. It's like you feel like one of America's heroes is lost.
I love me some Rudy. To this minute, I love Rudy Giuliani. As cuckoo as he is, I'd hang out with him and have some scotch.
To talk to.
Dude, seriously, let's go have a beer, my man. I'd love to sit down and chat with you. But I mean, he even got caught up in that Borat nonsense. That's how smart he is right now.
Yeah, see?
He got duped into being in a movie, being a pawn in a movie.
That's true. I think Tim Scott, he won't be the choice because he's not on the list, but he would be a great choice because it's a balance to Trump in a non-Mike Pence way, right? It's Tim Scott's a nice guy. Like Schweikert's like, I love Tim Scott. He's too nice to be president of the United States. So too nice can be the vice president. But I think that's a good balance for Trump because I think here's the problem with Vivek. I know that our side loves him, but he's very unlikable. It's like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire, he's just unlikable unless you agree with him. And I don't think that's how you win. Again, Vivek is perfect for press secretary. That's where I'd put him. He's a hype man. He would yell at the media and challenge the media all day long, but he's not likable.
Well, I can't get a Glenn Youngkin. Glenn Youngkin, I mean, which would probably be the best thing is Trump only has one term left. I mean, he'd walk right into the presidency. I mean, he's fantastic. How about this, though? We're about to put somebody back in the White House in a wheelchair. What do you think about that? Think about Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott isn't exactly making any enemies. He's working hard to secure a border in this nation. He's taken on the Biden administration to do it. And I think that a lot of people are turning on this whole migration thing and realizing what's going on and going, this dude actually fought for us. It wouldn't be a bad, I don't think it'd be a bad choice.
Yeah, it is interesting. I didn't even consider that. But yeah, I mean, Texas has some power problems. They got to figure those out. Like Houston.
Okay, but obviously. But I mean, we were talking about Gavin Newsom being a potential replacement for Biden and power problems. Controlled rolling blackouts and all that.
No, it's just bizarre because I was reading a story about how in Texas and Houston, there's still like 1.3 million people that don't have power after storm. Like, Texas, what is your energy grid doing? I mean, you had it got cold in Dallas and people freaked out, and Ted Cruz flew to Cancun and he got heat for that,
Oh, Ted.
Like, Texas, what are you doing, man? You're supposed to be this free state leading the way. Like, have a good power grid here. So I think that, again, this, for me, this is so much bigger than just filling in the bubble, right? Because we make that filling in the bubble so important, but we have to think about our other civic responsibilities as Americans. And I do think, Mike, that what we did today, because you and I came at it from very different angles.
Yeah.
But you and I, as we always do, we talk through it, right? Our biggest challenge in America is a communication challenge because we don't even want to talk to the other side. Because even use Vivek and Ben Shapiro as an example. These guys they're smart. They're great at debates, but they're not great at winning new people in because their tactics are too aggressive. And as far as a communication tactic, I think Reagan. Why was Reagan so effective? Because he was so great at communicating. He was so inspirational.
Yeah.
That's how you win, where the cheating and the malfeasance and the whatever doesn't matter. Like, that's what I think our side is missing. And Trump maybe has a chance to do that at the convention, because I do think that broadening the scope, because I think all of these issues, most Americans would agree to.
Yeah,
although your identity so tied to your politics, you don't care.
But I mean, could you imagine though? And this is us just having fun, just shooting the ball around, seeing which name would fit in there, and Glenn Youngkin, of course, would be my top pick in every damn way. But I would see that. Could you imagine being on the team, being on that Trump team? not just dealing with Trump. And if Trump's already got his mind made up and trying to convince him off, putting Christine O.M. as his VP candidate because she's hot. That'd be his only qualification for it. But she's so smoking hot. Hotter than Ivanka. And that's hard to say. Tell you. She shoots dogs in the face, so you can't. But aside from that, being on the team and actually fleshing all these people out and doing the background and vetting these people, holy mackerel! Who's got the skeleton? Where can the Democrats jump on this? Where will they jump? What's their voting record? What's their history? Where did they get caught peeing in public when they were 15? Like what possibly can we find? And I do think about the task that is for every name that comes up on the list. You're like, oi, then you've got to take that. Okay, they cleared that stage. Now, how do they fit electorally? How are they going to fit in this group, in this demographic, in this region of the country, in this? Oh, my good. That's it. Look, it's no easy feat. It's easy for us to sit here on the sidelines and say that's the receiver I would have thrown the ball to. But damn, I tell you, there's a lot going into it.
No doubt. And, for all of us, the future of the country is really in our hands. I mean, I know there's strategies in politics and they do all their political things to try to keep us out of it. But remember, we have power in numbers. At the end of the day, if we could communicate and find people whose entire identity is not wrapped up in their political party, I think that's how you win.
I agree. Or just you pick Bernie Sanders as your running mate and it's over.
Can you imagine Trump and Bernie?
We're going to keep both in check. You'll feel the burn, feel the Trump. The Trump train burn. It's going to feel. It's going to be great.
Two fiery old men going at it.
I know. They just hate each other, but they're like, we're going to keep each other in check. And America would go, that's a damn good idea. That's a really good idea. Talk about opposite end of the spectrum. Holy mackerel.
And Grizz, I hear you. You get caught. I've been caught. Not doing that, but
But I mean, okay, so here's the thing. So, okay, think about that. I mean, we get peeing in public. And that's always the thing. Like, oh, you can't pee in public. I mean, how many golf courses have I peed on? Guys, come on, for the love of grief. And but every single time, the world is your bathroom. But every single time that you do that, somebody in your foursome goes like this. No, your golf foursome, Grizz, settle down. So the golf foursome goes, oh, if you get caught, you go to jail, you get on the child predator list and this and that. Okay, which is not entirely true, but okay. But can be correct. But then now precedent is set with these gay pride parades last month. They're like, what? I'm using that as an example, said right in front of a cop. No, nothing was done. That is the precedent that was set. I now think that is law that I can go pee on other people in a parade and just be totally okay with it. That's so disgusting. Yeah. So just watering the plants. Yeah. I was just out here looking for a golf ball. Sorry. Yeah. Lost my ball in here. I found two. Okay, enough of that. All right, so tomorrow we're going to return to regularly scheduled programming at noon. But thanks for hanging with us. You guys are the best of the best of the best. And again, share it out as much as you can. And we just greatly appreciate that. As I think we're onto something. We're building and we're having a good time and we're getting momentum. And it's all because of y'all. And we really appreciate it. Appreciate Rob and his being wrong all day today. So we got to argue.
I'm always willing to be wrong. There's no doubt about that. You know that better than everybody.
Love you, little bro. Thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. We'll be back at noon tomorrow right here on Russell and Hunters in other news. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Oh, great morning. Holy mackerel. Yeah, gotta adjust my own time.